Maybe it says starting.
Frozen Twinkies.
There we go. All right, all right. This is Stone Guy 223. We are live. I appreciate everybody tuning in. So, well, this was going to be a bullpup chat, but apparently the gentleman that was spearheading this campaign is MIA. So,
Is it Nam?
we've taken a vote, and we're going to go from bullpup to suppressors or silencers. It may be silencers on bullpups, but either way, get through some quick introductions real quick. From my left, we've got the Yankee Marshal. I don't know if he's there. I don't have my camera on. Is he there? Nope. And then we've got Mr. Jaeger 117 next to him. Is he there? What's his?
Eric, that would be you.
Oh, sorry. That's Eric Coggin, Florida Director, Students for Concealed Carry.
Nice. And then we got the Tac Daddy.
I have neither a bullpup nor a silencer, so this is going to be awesome.
Excellent.
And then we got Sully.
What's up, guys? I know even less about bullpups than I do about suppressors.
And then we've got Mr. Sean, or all 9 yards.
I'm the guy so nice I'm here actually twice. Yeah, you know, I am a big bullpup fan and hoping to get one with a suppressor at some point. So this is going to be fun. And as always, I'm very opinionated about everything.
Yep, aren't we all? So, all right, well, I think that does it for the intros. So, what do you guys want to hit first? You want to get into bullpups, or I guess it seems to me that bullpups are becoming a little more popular, especially in the I don't know how to say that in the tactical world, maybe. I mean, we were talking off air. What was it? The Steyr AUG. That gun's been around forever, huh?
It's big with the military and the police these days. Is that what you're trying to say? Around the world?
Yeah. Well, it's been. That's something that's been utilized in foreign military and law enforcement agencies across the world, but it seems like. I don't know. It seems to me that all of a sudden bullpups are like this novel idea that.
Yeah, they've definitely gained a lot of the tactical following over the past 5 or 8 years. It's obviously not a new design. Bullpups have been around, since, as the saying goes, Christ was a corporal. He probably carried a bullpup. But I think a lot of the new interest was sparked with the Tavor coming out with something that took standard AR mag. It was something different. People really liked the Israeli adoption of them, and it really opened up a lot of people's eyes to the bullpup design. And Tavor sold a lot more bullpups than just their own rifles. I think it got people looking at a lot of the other offerings that are out there and thinking, well, there's this other bullpup, or I can put a bullpup stock on my Mini 14, or I can put a bullpup stock on my 1022, and have also an alternative to an SBR. I've got something with the same overall length or even shorter overall length than an AR-15 with a short barrel that I don't have to go get an FA registry for. So it's got a lot in the win column.
Well, is that what you find most appealing about the bullpups? Is just, obviously that's kind of, just the overall size, the fact that it's kind of like an SBR, but not really.
Yeah, that's really, I think, the main reason for it is just the reduction in overall length, where you've got that, with a piston type gun. You don't have as much throw that you have to worry about as something with a buffer tube or other types of captive spring designs, uh,
Right.
and you're able to really put that action way farther back, keep a good length of pull for you to actually operate the firearm comfortably, and yeah, it allows you to have a longer barrel in a shorter package, which, longer barrel equals generally improved ballistics.
So for the rest of, so we'll just go over a couple different types of bullpups that I can, come up with right off. So you've got the Steyr AUG or the AUG. They made 3 different versions of those. The A1, A2, A3. You've got an FN 2000 or the FN F2000. That to me is probably one of the coolest looking little bullpups. It's a Belgian design.
That
Yeah.
has a really interesting ejection port.
It does. It actually ejects out the front, which is kind of weird. It's completely ambidextrous. I haven't shot one, but I do have quite a bit of experience like handling their weapons. It's definitely an interesting design. There are just a couple things I really wouldn't like about it. Just the fact that number one is it doesn't lock back on you after your last round. So that's kind of a bit of a deal breaker for me. It's really, other than that, it's a very, very comfortable rifle.
Right, and one of the main criticisms of a lot of the earlier bullpup designs is that, well, they're all right ejecting. That's fine if you're a righty. However, if you're a left-handed shooter, you're ejecting brass into your neck with a lot of the older designs. Now you've got ones that are switchable, left and right eject, forward ejecting, downward ejecting. And that's, I think, helped to spur this new interest in a lot of the more modern bullpups that are coming out. Is no longer do the lefties have to eat brass, or even the righties that do train weak side.
Agreed. One of my favorite bullpups of all time is definitely the FN P90. Civilian version, of course, is the PS90. That's definitely a gun I would love to own, and possibly even SBR. Have you guys ever had any experience with those?
I didn't know
Now is that the 5.7?
It is 5.7 by 28, I believe.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the same cartridge as the FN57 handgun. And
Right.
it's a really interesting way that it loads because the rounds are stacked sideways in the magazine. And as they come back toward your shoulder, they actually turn 90 degrees facing forward. And after it's fired, the shells are dropped directly at your feet, which is quite nice.
Yeah, my only experience with those was watching Stargate.
Yes. That was one of their biggest props there.
So real quick, just for anybody that maybe watching this chat in the future, and I am cheating here. I've got an app on my iPhone. It's called Small Arms. It's a free app for anybody that might want to check it out.
No way you're just coming up with all these
No,
names.
this is I'm totally cheating. This is totally a cool app though. Like I said, it's free. It's awesome. It's got all these different. But I'm just gonna name off just all these bullpups that I had no idea were even out there. So we've got through the Steyrs, the FN F2000s, right? A Lapa. It's a LAPA. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. LAPA FA03. It's from Brazil. Okay. Then you've got the QBZ95. That's from China. You've got a Type 86 from China. VHS. No shit, a VHS. Also from China, or from Croatia. Sorry. Right. A scan down here. A Kinenbar. It's Iran. Kinenbar KH 2002. An A91 from Russia. Some Korobov. It's Korobov, or it's a Russian TKB 022. An SAR 21 from Singapore. SAR 21, I guess is the way you'd say that.
Yeah, shout out to the SAR.
Um, got a SA80 L22A1. It's from the United Kingdom. Um, the Keltec RFB carbine.
Yeah, has anyone had any experience with the RFB?
No.
Strange.
Yeah, I've heard quite a bit about them. Let's see here. Have you guys heard anything about the reliability? For a while there, I heard they're having some issues.
Well, it is a Keltec, so.
True.
And then the last one was an XM29 OICW. It says USA/Germany. But anyway, that's like 10 or 12 different types of bullpups, and I think for the most part, we're all familiar with Tavor, and Tavor didn't even make wasn't even. Did I skip the Tavor, or it might not be
Yeah,
on
no,
here?
it sounds like that list was all the ones that are widely adopted for, or not maybe necessarily widely adopted, but are all the military ones. There's quite a few more on the civilian market, um, and really that's where Tavor's enjoyed his greatest success in dog proof, apparently.
Right. So you've got, hell, I was shocked at how many actual bullpups there were. You know, because like I said, we're all for, kind of like the AUG, the Tavor, the uh, the Keltec, um, and then that other, can't think of the other real popular one right off, but there's only really 4 or 5 that are widely.
That we were talking about Desert Tech.
Yeah, Desert Tag. So um, I don't know. So to me, that was a kind of cool to think about all the other bullpups that were out there that have been out and around. But it seems like I said here recently with the new re I don't know, the new interest in bullpups, it seems to have spurred the industry to start producing things like the Tavor.
Yeah, ever since shot the Desert Tech 300 Win Mag bullpup has been on my short list of rifles to lay my hands on.
Yeah, I've actually not heard of that. Does anybody have a link for it?
For what now?
What was it, the Desert Tech?
Yeah.
Was it the MDR?
Yeah, they've got one that's supposed to be a multi-caliber. Um, so same chassis, change the barrel, change the bolt, and I think they're doing it in 5.56, 308, and 300 Win Mag, if I remember right.
We haven't even really touched too much on the conversion kits. I heard somebody mention about the Mini 14, but then you got the Juggernaut bullpup chassis for the M1A as well.
Oh yeah, well then they've got the little bullpup kit for the 1022s.
Yep, that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, shoot. Now someone else is asking what are some of the legitimate uses of a bullpup. I mean, right off the bat, I would say just like a truck gun, something that's.
There's the size of that one from Desert Tech. That was impressive.
Yeah, because if you take a bullpup, you can have a shorter overall length than some SBRs, minus the whole $200 tax stamp, 9 to 10 month wait period, plus writing a letter to Uncle Sam every time you want to cross state lines. So I can definitely see the use for it. Definitely good for close quarters, and definitely something to keep in a vehicle. I mean, it's basically like having an SBR, like an AR pistol almost, but you actually get full ballistics out of a 16-inch barrel. I mean, even the 18-inch barrel is the size of, or the Tavor 21, for example. I got to check one of those out at my local gun store here, and the overall length of that, but the 18 was about the same as an SBR, probably a 14 or 15-inch barrel.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not going to take something like a a 308 or a 300 Win mag and try and launch those rounds out of a 10-inch barrel or something.
Yeah.
You know, unless you want a flamethrower and a bullet that doesn't stabilize.
Not to mention, also later on in the chat of suppressors, I would not want to put a suppressor on like a 10-inch 308. That would be just asking for a baffle strike. Yeah, it's expensive.
Well, so I know a couple of us, we've kind of talked off air about how much experience we each have with different bullpup variants. I've only shot, I shot the Devore and I've shot the one from Keltec. To me, I mean, I don't like having the magazine like up under, where I would normally tuck in and like really lean into the rifle. To me, the magazine seems to be in the way. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about the positioning, the ergonomics? Some people love them. Some people say they're a little funky and a little too close to the, like you're too close up to the gun, I guess.
Well, the ergonomics have always been the drawback of the bullpup, from reloading to ejection to how it feels. I don't particularly like them. That's just my opinion. But then again, I've only got like 5 rounds through one, so.
Yeah, I owned a Steyr AUG for a couple years. It was a pretty nice gun. I definitely paid way too much money for it back then, but the reloading was definitely an issue. I really didn't do a whole lot of training back then, but recently I got to handle it to 421, and I gotta say, with a little bit of practice, reloading on that thing could be just as easy, if not easier, than just your standard AR-15. Because you can always keep one hand on the rifle and keep it basically in battery, and keep it on target while still reloading. Just takes one hand to reload, and because the weight of the rifle is so close to your shoulder that it doesn't get awkward at all. And I mean, it was a pretty sweet rifle. I mean, I'd love to shoot one, just haven't had the opportunity yet.
Now that Desert Tac, is that the one, Tac Daddy, that Tim from Military Arms just did a review on, that has the interchangeable barrels system? It's basically a bullpup sniper rifle, or precision rifle, I should say.
I think you stepped away for a minute, Stone.
Yeah, that sounds like the Desert Tech. They have the interchangeable calibers, and Desert Tech's known for making really good high accuracy rifles. I haven't seen the video you're talking about, but it certainly sounds like it.
Yeah, to me, the cool thing about that particular firearm that Tim did a review on was the fact that it's a bolt gun, and it's it's got an interchangeable or a modular barrel system that allows you to change calipers very easily. Comes with a preset Torx wrench, or I think is that what they call those, the torque wrench. And I think it's only like 4 bolts, 4 screws. But the biggest thing that was so cool was that you're getting the precision of a long-barreled, precision rifle in such a smaller, compact, platform. And the only drawback that he found was that when he's on the gun and has his cheek well, that it is kind of awkward to manipulate that bolt without coming up off the gun. But to me, that was a kind of a more practical, I don't know, design of a bullpup versus some of these other bullpup designs that I think are just cool looking. Like they're just a bullpup because they look cool. Trying to find the link for that, what that one is, but because like the AUG, for instance, did you have an issue because the magazine for the AUG sits basically right between the the grip, the pistol grip, and where your wrist would naturally lie. You know what I mean? Like when you have that gun shouldered and you're locked in on the grip, where, where your trigger guard is, that magazine's like right there, which
I
would be
never really
kind of
had an
like,
issue with that. It really wasn't bad at all. Uh, I mean, I can see some people. It would take a little bit of getting used to, but I mean, I had no issues with it.
at least like the F2000. Of course, that's a bigger, like a wider gun. I don't know if you guys have seen those. It's a pretty fat, like top to bottom gun anyway. And the magazine seems to be a little more hidden versus sticking out. And some of these bullpups that I'm looking at, and honestly, I don't have much experience with bullpups at all. There was another guy that was supposed to be here tonight that
But yeah,
was the bullpup guru,
the
but
F2000.
just by looking at all,
Yeah, I got to say,
I say,
the F2000 and really anything Fabrique Nationale, their guns are very, very comfortable. I mean, both the P90, well, PS90 as well, and Sturviance, and the F2000, FS2000. They were very, very comfortable guns, easy to operate, fully ambidextrous, and ergonomically they just felt right. The F2000, I mean, I never got to shoot it, but just holding it, and it was very, very comfortable to hold.
Now, see, to me, the P90 is kind of the oddball of the bullpup family there, because I didn't even really think of it as a bullpup, because it's a top-loading magazine.
Well, by definition, I mean the bullet still fires well behind the trigger guard.
Right. It just didn't cross my mind as to consider that a bullpup.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it is definitely an oddball. It's a very, very neat gun. I mean, this has always been on my want list for a long time. Just the ammo is not that terribly effective.
yeah, just looking at all these different pictures of the bullpups that I mentioned, it seems like the magazine would be in a very precarious position that wouldn't allow you to adjust your forearm position on the rifle, or I don't know. I mean, to me, they just don't seem like they would be comfortable. But I don't have enough trigger time on one to be fair in that assessment. This is just a visual interpretation of what would seem to be very uncomfortable.
Well, I gotta say the weight is definitely a lot more comfortable on the bullpup versus your standard like AR and AK platforms. The weight is inside of your trigger arm, so basically if you're holding the AR, normally a lot of your weight is further out, but with the bullpup it's a lot closer, so even if you take off your support hand, you can still operate the weapon just fine using your shooting hand.
Now, you kind of alluded to something a minute ago when you said that it was fired from behind the trigger or the bolt or whatever. So let's tell people what classifies a bullpup. Elaborate on what you were talking about when you said, well, the bullet's fired from behind the trigger or whatever you said.
The basic definition of a bullpup is where the action and the magazine are located behind the trigger. So with the P90 and the PS90, I can kind of see like the magazine is over the top, if you will, but the magazine itself feeds the weapon behind the trigger guard, and the entire action is kept behind the trigger guard. On bullpups that load very much like your standard AR series, like your Tavor and your AUG, it's very obvious that the whole magazine and everything takes place behind the trigger. But with the PS9 or the P90, PS90, I can see where that can kind of get a little bit shadowed. But if you guys are looking at a PS90 here, if you guys have a picture up, if you look toward the back, you'll see a rounded spot on the back of the magazine. That's actually where the bullets turn. So they go in loaded at 90 degrees. They turn as they are right about to feed into the action, and then they, after it's spent, the gun drops it straight down. It looks like almost where you could theoretically put a magazine up if it were to be a magazine-fed weapon from the bottom.
Yeah, one of the bigger complaints about a lot of bullpups is the fact that you have this, you have your action back toward your shoulder, and you have your trigger guard up farther. So there's necessarily a long action bar for dropping that hammer. So the trigger consequently
Oh,
usually
good.
suffers.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That was definitely going to be a consideration. It seems like that's always a sticking point on most people's purchase of a bullpup is the trigger. What's the well, let me ask you this. Have you guys ever thought about this? And there again, with my limited knowledge, this may not be a I might not be asking the right question, but a bullpup, and I'm going to use I know it's what is it 20 is 26 inches the overall length of a rifle. I want to say
yeah, that's the minimum.
yeah. Okay, so if you have a bullpup, that's and we're just going to use we'll just use hypothetical numbers here. We'll say a 30-inch bullpup, right? Makes the minimum requirements 30 inches overall length versus an SBR with a 30-inch overall length, or a AR or AK pistol, let's say with an overall length of whatever it is. Well, I mean, why are people so hell bent on vilifying the SBRs when you could have a bullpup that's as short or shorter than an SBR? Doesn't make sense to me.
The short version of public misconception. We're having a conversation about bullpups because they're not very well known, and they're just now starting to gain real popularity. I don't think people understand. I don't think the public, the general public, understands that it's a full-length rifle inside of a smaller frame because of the way it's fed and loaded and ejects and just functions.
Right. And I may be way off in my dimensions or my comparisons of a bullpup and an SBR, but I probably should have done some more research. But it seems to me that you could theoretically have a bullpup that's as short as an SBR, but yet there's no restrictions on bullpups, and there's restrictions on SBR. So I don't understand where the where the
Well,
difference lies.
it still has this, this 26-inch minimum overall length to keep it from getting into the NFA. But at a 26 overall length, you can have an 18-inch barrel in a 26-inch rifle, or a 20-inch barrel in a 26-inch rifle in some cases. So it really lets you, maximize that barrel length and really push up your velocities, push up your accuracy, while keeping it overall short and in some cases lighter. And I threw up this little picture I've got here just to kind of, I guess, kind of highlights the how some of the and this is basically a cutaway of one of the cheaper aftermarket bullpup kits, I think for a 1022. But it just puts in this type of overlay, almost pulley system to get to the trigger. So things like this is why you see so much criticism of a lot of the bullpup triggers, because they do ridiculous things like this. It looks like a Rube Goldberg design.
Yeah, the trigger on my AUG was not spectacular. I mean, I forgot which one it was, but it was definitely one of the earlier models. It left quite a bit to be desired.
All right, well, that's Shit, let's talk about suppressors because this, like I said, this bullpup thing is not my cup of tea. I don't know enough about that to keep a conversation going about bullpups. So
Yeah, I think we better run the bullpup out of that one. That's about all.
Well, there's really not much
Right.
to them. They're shorter. There's the cliff notes.
There you go. It's shorter. Done.
It's a full barrel rifle in a smaller package. That's all it is.
Oh. So, suppressors. One thing, recent news, Silencer Co. just released their Salvo 12. Have you guys seen that? I know Sean is probably over
the
there.
shotgun.
Yeah, it's the shotgun suppressor made by Silencer Co.
Right.
I want to get my hands on one of those. That's for sure. That thing looked pretty sweet. I've seen some videos, and it looks like it's got some pretty good sound reduction. And as a Silencer Co. owner myself, I own an Osprey, and I absolutely love the thing. I would love to put one of those on one of my shotguns. What do you guys think?
Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the first mass-produced shotgun suppressor, if I remember the article correctly.
I believe that to be correct. At least the first one brought to the market.
Yeah. There's been quite a few designs for those things over the years, but no one's ever really tried to market them.
My question is, how many shots until it turns into a frag grenade?
Yeah, I'm God. You hear about barrel strikes in every type of suppressor there is, or baffle strikes.
Baffle strikes. Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just
Well-
waiting for the first video of someone launching one of those things downrange.
Well, is it designed differently in the shotgun suppressor? I mean, because I don't know. I mean, does it have to give clearance for the wad, or I mean, I don't know. I don't know how
I
they.
mean,
I'd
I'd
be more
imagine
worried about birdshot. Somebody shooting pellets through it and not a slug.
Well, I mean, the pellets aren't going to spread beyond, of course, where the baffles would be by the end of the barrel. One thing we always overestimate is how much the shotgun actually spreads. Just a couple inches out of the barrel, it's not going to spread much, especially because they have a special choke. That's how you mount the suppressor to the shotgun. Is you install the choke. It's their patented choke. So that's also going to keep everything nice and tight until it leaves the barrel of the suppressor, or leaves the end of the suppressor. But I know the suppressor is also available in a couple different lengths. Let me see if I can pull that up as well. I really haven't done a whole lot of looking into that. I've been a little busy.
So someone asked in the chat why are silencers so pricey?
because people are willing to pay it.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of it is government regulation, as with everything. I mean, look at airplanes, for example; those are quite expensive just because of regulation. Also, supply and demand. It does create kind of a artificial demand there with how much regulation is on them, and they're kind of a novelty, if you will. It takes forever to get it. I just got a couple months ago. I got my Osprey 45 and my 6-hour 220, and that took about 9 months, and of course $200 tax stamped to Uncle Sam.
How heavy is that? That's something I might think about in the future for my 227.
Not heavy, honestly. It's really negligible. My scale battery broke in my little food scale. Really
You can't eat your scale too.
Yes, scale too. It's
No.
everything.
I've heard of people running oil inside their cans or some type of fluid. What's the benefits and or drawbacks? Is that a complete myth to do that, or can
No, it's
anybody
actually
explain that?
wet compressor. The best thing you can use is actually water. A couple cc's of water, and it'll considerably quiet it down. I'm not really a physicist. I can't tell you exactly how it works, but all I know is it does. Now, the biggest thing about water is, let's say, for me, I leave my suppressor in the safe usually for a couple weeks at a time between times I can take the can out to the range. Well, the water would evaporate out of the can. Also, after a couple shots, well, no matter what you use, after a couple shots, it's going to get quite hot and usually burn off. But another thing is, if I put water in here and I tilt it up or I tilt it down, the water's going to leak out. So what I use is synthetic wire pulling gel. You can get it at Home Depot. It's the clear one. Comes in a big old bottle, like this big. And I usually inject a couple cc's in the front, about 5 or 6, and about 5 or 6 from the rear. Beat the crap out of the suppressor, pound it down and up. And that was one of the things that really surprised me when I first got my suppressor and learned how to really handle it from my gun or my dealer. Everyone thinks suppressors are quite fragile, but I can assure you they're not. I mean, this thing can take quite a bit of a beating. So when you put in your wetting fluid, you beat the crap out of this. Like I usually put a towel down just so I don't get the fluid everywhere. But you hit it down this way, you flip it, hit it down toward the back, and then of course you're going to look down the middle to make sure you have no obstructions, and then you're good to go. And you can see on the front there's just a little bit of a discoloration. That's just a little bit of residue from the last time I took it to the range. The wetting does help a little bit with the first round pop. So the first round that you put through the suppressor is going to be a little louder than the following ones just because the gas hasn't built up inside the baffles. So your first one's a little bit louder, then it quiets off quite a bit until you leave it set for like 10-15 minutes. But the wetting does help quite a bit. And whenever, I know Silencer Co., they use water for their sound tests. So if you go in there and watch their sound test, they always wet it with water.
Now, what makes a gun run so dirty when you have a can on it? Like, is it just you're getting all that blowback that would normally go out the end of the barrel trapped
Yeah,
by
the same
That's
thing
correct.
makes an AR-15 action dirtier than some other designs. It's just gases getting blown back.
That's absolutely correct, because basically the only thing a suppressor does is slow down the gases leaving the barrel. That's all its basic function is to do. That's why it has all the baffles to kind of like trap the gas in different compartments. So as you fire the bullet, basically it goes through the suppressor, and once it passes a baffle, the gases actually go side to side. It's almost like putting a ring around a muzzle brake, if you will. So the gases are trapped and they're still expanding. So the bullet is right here, blocking the majority of the front exit. So as the barrel's empty, of course, at this time, and usually your action's coming back, so it's going to be partially open. So all that expanding gas is going to actually travel backwards through your barrel, and that's why if you do shoot suppressors, I highly recommend either huge sunglasses or safety glasses, because you'll get stuff all over your face and arms if you, especially if you wet it with the wire pulling gel. It runs a little dirty, but it does keep it quite quiet.
Now, what are some of the different companies making suppressors that are, quality that you could recommend to people out there?
Oh boy, there's quite a few. I gotta say, I wouldn't recommend AAC. They're kind of what appears to be going downhill. I have a Silencer Co. I love it. It's my first suppressor. I've shot many suppressors. This is just the first one I've been able to own. I absolutely love it. Gemtech is good, but I would say if I were to recommend one of two brands, it would either be a Silencer Co. or a Yankee Hill machine. I've got two YHMs coming in, 22, I think it's the Wraith for my little Buckmark, and I've also got the Phantom 30 QD coming in for my AR-10, and those things are built like tanks. I mean, those are going to be handed down to my grandchildren one day.
Now, what do you think about the the Surefires?
I have no experience with the Surefire. I mean, they make great products for sure, and I would absolutely love to get my hands on one to play with. I wouldn't exactly recommend it right now just because I don't have a whole lot of knowledge of it, but with the...
They just seem a little spendy for what they are.
Let me check the prices real quick. I really haven't been looking. I've already spent all the money I can on silencers at the moment.
I mean, yeah, I was looking around at them here recently because, well, my 30 cal AR, my 7.62 AR came with a Surefire brake, and it's the brake that they use for their suppressors. So I took a look at some of their, some of the suppressors out there, and I was like, really surprised at the fact that the prices seemed to me substantially more expensive than a comparable like Silencer Co. or something.
Yeah, I'm looking at the prices here. Everything is over $1,200. I don't see anything. Actually, I don't see anything really under 1,200. Yeah, the cheapest one here, it looks like it's about $12.99. I gotta say, I spent probably about 650, 700, somewhere in there for my Yankee Hill machine, and that the Yankee Hill machine QD30. Let me pull up the specs on it real quick.
Now, Guru asked something about boosters. Is he? I never know if he's full of shit or not. But do you know what he's referencing when he says boosters?
Yes, booster. Let me get my can off here real quick, and I'll show you. Let's see. Let me find this chat. All right, so the booster. I have a booster on mine just because when you shoot a suppressed handgun, the recoil is limited quite a bit. So this actually has the opposite of a muzzle brake inside. So when it goes through, it actually forces more recoil toward the handgun. So that way you'll have enough energy to operate the cycle or operate the action. Let's see. Let me see if I can find a post to it that can explain a little better than I can.
Oh no, that makes sense because I've heard of people getting a lot of like stovepipes when they're running a silencer because there's not enough inertia to kick the shell out. I guess so the booster adds more whatever to make the slide cycle.
That's correct. It's basically more recoil. That's all you really need. Now, if you have a gun that has like a fixed barrel, it's not going to be as big of an issue. They actually make a booster. Is what the let's see what the silencer go here. What you can do is you can actually flip this little lever open, and I have a key that sits on top. It's a little wrench. It has little 3 prongs. Now you can actually pull the booster out, and you can change the thread on it if you want, because they make it to where you can actually put this on a smaller caliber as well.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you about that. So you can take that 45 can and put a 9mm booster on it and shoot 9mm through that and get some pretty decent suppression, right?
It's not going to be bad, but also you got to remember one thing, that's going to be supersonic. So I mean, my 45 is so quiet that I could turn up my music in my apartment and I could probably shoot a couple wet phone books in here. Only way my neighbors would know is by me setting off the smoke detectors because they do run a little smoky at times, especially if you're running wet. But yeah, I mean, for total report, because it is subsonic, the loudest part about shooting it is going to be the action cycling and the bullet striking whatever it's going to hit. So if you hit a steel plate, it's going to be loud.
All right, so you say you've got 2 more suppressors coming up. When did you put in your Form 4 to the ATF, and have you gotten them back yet?
Oh boy, my Form 4s, I believe I put them in February. Yeah, that's correct. So they should be coming in November, middle of November, hopefully.
So 10 months?
9 to 10 months, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Now I did hear about some people since they put the Form 1s to build, like if somebody wants to build an SBR, they have those on the website again now where they're basically letting people e-file them. And heard something about somebody actually getting back one in 1 day, another person getting that one back in about 2 weeks here recently.
And that's just a Form 1, correct?
Yeah, that's just on the Form 1. I'm hoping they put the Form 4s back online soon. And
yeah, I think they actually got their system crashed, if I'm not mistaken. I remember hearing they had a whole lot of issues with how many people submitted Form 4s. The e-file is nice. I mean, it's a real pain the way the current system works.
Maybe they've got the same people running the ATF website as the healthcare website.
I think that's probably your issue, and I think those are the guys in charge of running the actual paper department too.
Now, for people that may not know, are you able to manufacture or build your own suppressor if you file the correct paperwork?
Yes, if you file an ATF Form 1, you can build pretty much anything you put on the form. So you could build. You have to put in, I believe, each one for each individual thing that you want to build. But let's say I wanted to build a suppressor, I could put in a Form 1, and then I could go. Once I got the Form 1 back, I could go to Home Depot, buy the parts I want, and there's my suppressor.
Which could constitute an adapter for a sink trap and a oil filter.
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, there is.
No.
I forgot who it was, but they actually sell a serialized adapter that you have to put a Form 4 in to get, and you can buy an oil filter, screw the oil filter on, and you have oil filter suppressor. Now, the biggest issue with that one is, of course, it's consumable, and also your sights. Good luck being able to see anything.
You just put one of those LaRue tactical extended red dot sights off of an AR-15 on top of your pistol.
There you go. Yeah. But what's nice about the Silencer Co., one reason that I went with them is if you look at the form, it's not circular, which most suppressors are. It's actually, you can actually set the timing as well. So let's say if I put it on another one of my guns, and that is straight up. So when I take the suppressor off, put it back on, it's going to lock to the exact same place that I just had it. So you basically just lock it in, you reset it to where you want it, snap the little arm down, and now it's locked in place. And I can take it off and put it on as many times as I want, and it'll always come straight like this. But the sights are not bad at all. I mean, if you look, you can almost see down the sights. But if I got additional suppressor sights for it, or say little miniature red dots there, that'd be optimal.
Well, like the Tac Daddy was here a minute ago. I know he has one of those FNX
NX45.
and those come with the raised suppressor type sights.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
And that one's definitely on my short list of things that I need to add.
Yeah. The FNX 45 tactical is a beautiful handgun. And that's pretty much set up for a suppressor. Like you said, it comes with a threaded barrel, extra high sights. Great firearm.
Yeah, a friend of mine has one. Yeah, he takes it when we go hog hunting. He enjoys it quite a bit.
So we touched a little bit on the suppressors in the Florida carry chat. The fact that you guys in Florida have, I guess, is it being voted on or is it just being proposed as far as being able to hunt with a suppressor? I mean, is that already in the works?
Yeah, the proposal's up for proposed rulemaking here in the next few weeks in front of the Fish and Wildlife Commission, which sets all the hunting regulations, to see if you'll be able to take game animals with suppressors. You can already use it for limited hunting in Florida, things like raccoons and possums and things like that. This will allow you to do things like, use a suppressor with your 300 Win mag for shooting deer. Again, not like it's going to make a 300 Win mag all of a sudden a silent James Bond mouse fart gun, but certainly might save a few eardrums.
Yeah, that's for sure, because with the loud crack that you hear in the woods, it's really not going to damage your hearing all that much. The biggest thing that will do is a report of the rifle. So the only thing that actually gets suppressed is the report. So if someone shoots a gun, you might not be able to hear exactly where it's coming from, but you'll definitely know that it's been fired. And normally, if you're at a range of the report anyways, you're not going to hear where it's coming from, you just hear the crack.
Now, Eric, you use one of the gun trusts, same type of gun trust that we're doing at Florida Carry for executive members now. Have you done any of the standard Clio sign-off type paperwork, or has it all been through your trust?
It's all been through my trust. Let's see here. Sheriff Ben Johnson of Volusia County Sheriff, I highly doubt that he would actually sign a piece of paper that I give him unless I give him considerable funds to fund his campaign. So I'm a recent college graduate. I don't have that much money. I have enough to support my little suppressor hobby, but not enough to be donating to some guy that's really not all that great, in my opinion. But that's the biggest issue you run into, and why you really need to do a trust is because with a lot of chief law enforcement, they're not going to sign it unless you give them a dang good reason to. So the trust completely bypasses all of that. So I haven't been fingerprinted for mine. I mean, of course, everything's still background checked through FDLE, but I don't have to submit my picture. I don't have to submit fingerprints. I mean, not that the government doesn't already have it for my concealed weapons license. But, yeah, the trust is really the only way to go. Plus, like we were talking about in the Florida Carry chat earlier, I could put my family on, say I get married, I could put my wife on as a, not necessarily an executor, but as a party on the trust. So if I happen to take my can and leave it in the open and she grabs it to put it in the safe and the ATF comes in and kicks the door, I wouldn't get arrested for illegal transfer. So I could put her on so she could have
And more importantly, she wouldn't be arrested.
Well, we both probably would, because she would be in unlawful possession of a Title II device, and I would have allowed a transfer of my Title II device. So we'd both probably be in pretty deep trouble.
Maybe you could get adjoining cells.
There you go.
Way to look on the bright side of
For
things.
the next 10 years there. Yeah, honestly, I would not be in one least bit disappointed if they did away with the whole ATF.
So did ATF come out and inspect your house and look at your safe and do all these things that we hear about them sometimes doing?
Well, number one, if they did, I would tell them just as I would tell any police officer. If you have a warrant, you're more than welcome to come in. Otherwise, have a nice day. Slam click. I heard a guy. Actually, I brought my Osprey 45 into the Florida Gun Exchange. There's a guy there, and just snaggly tooth, like really, really weird looking guy behind the counter. As is the Ormond Beach location. And this guy he didn't know up from down when it come to NFA. He asked me to see my trust. I said no. And he's like, and he's sitting there holding my can, right? And he's like, well, I need to see your trust and your tax stamp. I'm like, no, you don't. You're not the ATF. I don't even have to show it to law enforcement. Like, if a cop asks me, I don't legally have to show it to him. I have to show it to the ATF inspector if they ask. So the guy's sitting there. I'm like, no, can you give me my can back? He's like, well, I got to get my manager. I'm like, how about this? You just unlawfully took delivery, or you are unlawful possession of a Title II device. How about you hand that over? I scared the crap out of me, gave it back. It was kind of funny. But, yeah, the manager pulled him aside, told him that he was just absolutely wrong. The guy told me that, yes, the ATF will have access to I have to provide them blueprints of my house with, like, where I keep my guns. No, none of that. The only difference between this and a regular firearm, because this is technically two firearms, 1 and 2 here. So the only difference between the regular firearms and a suppressor is the trust and the tax stamp and the fact that no one outside of my trust can have possession of mine.
Okay, because I mean, and this is just what I heard from other people, is that the ATF could actually come out and inspect to make sure that you have a safe and properly storing your guns and all that stuff.
Well, my question is, Sean, where is the reg that says I have to actually have a safe? Because I live
That's
by
what I would be curious about. Why would you?
I live by myself in an apartment. Now, just because the condo commandos, they have a key, I keep it in a safe, and also because I have a brain. But let's say I lived in a house and I was the only one with the key. Is my house not technically safe? It's a secured, locked facility. I could leave it on my nightstand hooked up to my SIG if I wanted to. Sorry, cat's bitten.
That's what I would think, because how I guess unless you're an FFL, how would they have the right to dictate how you store your firearms?
Exactly. If you're not an FFL, they cannot come in and inspect, and that is absolutely whoever has been. I would honestly like to find out where this came from, because if the only thing I can think of is like the ATF is actually bullying people, saying, "Hey, we need to come check your safe." No, slam, click, have a nice day.
Yeah, well, and I think that's actually is where it's been coming from. Is some people saying that they put in for they put in a Form 1. The ATF showed up and wanted to see their guns, see where they're going to be storing the NFA item and all this kind of stuff, which I haven't even looked into the legality of that.
Well, I mean, they can absolutely ask. I don't see anything. I mean, like a police officer can ask to search your vehicle.
Well, I guess the premise was you weren't getting your Form 1 approved unless you show us this stuff.
Well, that would be, I would venture to say that would be illegal. But I mean, as far as them asking and coming in, I mean, they can probably say, well, we'll speed this up for you if you let us take a look. And I'm sure they probably pulled some crap like that. But basically, it's just like the whole police trick, like, all right, well, if you can do this the easy way or the hard way. Let me search your car. I'm gonna get the K9. Well, go ahead, get the K9. I'll sit back and wait until you get either the K9 or a warrant. And when the K9 doesn't find anything, you're still not coming in my car. So same thing with my house. I mean, ATF. I don't care, BATFE. Just any law enforcement agency. If anybody comes to my door, I have just a party line for them. Do you have a warrant? Nope. All right, have a nice day. Slam click. And Sean, if you're trying to speak, you're muted again.
I have the,
Okay, so someone's asking.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I have the luxury of absorbing all this information because it's stuff that I haven't gotten to nor even thought about doing paperwork on. So
I got you. Can someone send me a link to where these comments are so I can answer a couple? I can't see them. I don't know where they're at.
Well, I'm getting mine are coming through gun channels. If you want the external, you can just go to my YouTube channel and click on the live chat, and you'll get the comments there. Just if you open it in another window, just mute the chat in the other window.
All right. Let's see here.
But someone's asking. I'm sorry. Yeah, Stone
sorry.
Guy 223 on YouTube. So someone's asking, can you carry suppressed as long as you have the paperwork? Like I guess they're meaning your everyday carry, concealed carry gun. Could you, if you could find a way to carry it, could you?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to Sean on this one. He knows a little bit about it more than I do.
Yeah,
But
just Florida, your concealed carry permit specifically does not apply to or concealed carry license for the grammar Nazis out there. But it does. It specifically does not allow you to carry anything but a standard handgun or a knife or a billy or certain things. But as far as firearms, NFA are specifically excluded.
not to mention, yeah, good luck concealing this. It's rather large. All right.
So now, other than the cost that we've kind of touched on that, I've heard some people that say suppressors make your gun less reliable, less effective, and less accurate. How would you respond to those claims?
Let's see here. Well, just from shooting my SIG with the Osprey on it. I mean, I have had a couple jams with it. Just shooting garbage ammo, though. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of money going to the range shooting premium ammo. Accuracy, I haven't had any issues with, and I mean, other than that, it's fine. I've had a couple failure to ejects, but other than that, it's just from the garbage ammo I was shooting.
Yeah, I've been planning to get a suppressor for this new 308AR that I've got. Problem is, I've been having some reliability problems with that already with it stovepiping, even after they supposedly fixed it. So I don't know. I think I'll be holding off on that for a while.
you're running a piston or a direct impingement AR?
It's DI. When I first got it, it came with the gas tubes were too short, so had all kind of problems with that. Obviously, sent it back. It really just totally boogered up the gas key because it was causing the uh, it would stovepipe, and actually the next round would jump up over the stovepipe round and ram into the gas tube. That bent it and boogered up the gas key. Sent it back. They replaced the gas tube, and all they did was, kind of slightly buff out the big old dent in the gas tube or in the gas key, and sent it back to me. And I had a couple more stovepipes the other day shooting it, but it was in the first few rounds, and then I didn't have any more problems. So we'll see how reliability goes as I do a little bit more shooting on it. It might have just been a little bit of break-in still going on there, but I don't have a ton of faith. Plus the fact that, and it could have been me, but because I was getting a little less accuracy out of my Bolt 308, which I know is dead accurate than I usually get, but so it might have just been me that day. But I was still shooting my bolt gun under 1 MOA, and I was shooting this thing at like 4 MOA. So I need to take it out to the range one more time before I start throwing core rifle systems under the bus. But right now, I'm not real pleased.
I'm sorry. If you buy a rifle, it should work.
Yeah, agreed.
And look, I've bought Springfield 1911s that out of the box just had reliability issues with certain ammo, and sent it back to Springfield, and they just totally tricked out the gun, sent it back, and it was just absolute butter afterward. I get it. Sometimes you get a gun that doesn't run quite right out of the box, but when you send it back, to me, sending back a rifle from warranty service with a marred up gas key still on the bolt carrier was unacceptable.
Right.
I can see that. Yeah, I just underwent a bit of a process with my 227 as far as not quite functioning properly, but luckily enough I live in the same state as the factory, so it's not really a big deal.
Yeah, well, and that was one of the reasons I bought the core rifle. They're here in Florida. If I really got angry, it's about a 2.5 hour drive for me to get to their factory and go stand on someone's desk.
I gotta say, I have a DPMS LR308. I absolutely love it. I went to change the fore end, and I had an issue with the threads on the upper receiver. So I took it to a local gunsmith down in Orlando, and he was like, "Yeah, this does not match any known thread pattern." I'm like, "Oh crap!" So I've had it to 3 different gunsmiths trying to put a new foregrip on because I couldn't put it on myself. So I'm like, I'm not going to break it, so I'm going to take it to the experts. So I ended up sending it to Daniel Defense, who's the maker of the fore end, and they said, "Yeah, it's your upper that's not right. Everything on their end was fine." So I sent just the upper to DPMS. They sent me a brand new one back, and great customer service. They were able to rush it quite a bit for me, and yeah, I'd absolutely stand by both Daniel Defense and DPMS.
Yeah, I have no problem with somebody. Occasionally, any company is going to let a lemon out the door.
Absolutely.
Yeah, QC misses things occasionally. I'm not going to freak out over that. But when you do send it back, I expect it to come back perfect.
Absolutely.
And that's just really not what I saw. When I got it back, the forearm was on crooked. The rails didn't line up. The muzzle brake was on crooked. It just poor reassembly. The gas key on the bolt carrier was still the original one that was already banged to hell. It looked like they actually banged it up more when they were working on it, and they said they dressed it up a little bit, and it's just still dinged up. Whether that's causing any functional issues, I really don't think it is. But again, I had a couple of stovepipes the other day shooting 168 grain gold medal match out of it.
I just think that speaks more to their quality control and the fact that they're willing to send something out that's already had an issue, and they're willing to send it back out with an issue. that just doesn't speak well to them, their business ethics, I guess.
Yeah. Now that they do claim that they have this great warranty that follows the gun, not the buyer, and if it ain't right, we'll fix it. And that's great, but I don't want to send back the gun 14 times in order to get everything fixed. And I certainly don't expect that when I receive it back that I'm going to have to take the thing back apart to line everything back up
Right.
again. I mean,
Yeah. Well, that's the
it
thing.
doesn't
That's what
take
people.
much to line up a forearm rail with the receiver rail.
Yeah. That's what people say about Keltec. They're like, oh, they got a lifetime warranty. They'll fix it. Or Taurus, maybe. I don't know if Keltec, man. It's the Taurus.
Yeah, both
They're
of them
always
do.
like, they have a lifetime warranty, and it's like, well, yeah, but hell, if you have to send it back, every
Send you a brand new one back and great customer service.
right.
Uh,
I mean,
For me,
I'll
man,
I'll tell you this: I bought an off-the-shelf 308 type AR just because I hadn't built one. After this experience, if I do another 308 AR, I'm just going to build it ground up from scratch myself. That way, I know the assembly that went into it. I know every part that went into it. I mean, this one on paper was great. I mean, it came with a Geissele SSA trigger. It came with a Magpul UBR stock, which I love. It came with a really nice grip. The upper and lower receiver are beautiful. I mean, they're just beautifully well machined billet upper and lowers. It's just I have a huge problem with the way they've been assembling their guns, or at least when it came to my gun, the way it was assembled, and when it was serviced, the way it was reassembled. It's like somebody took a bunch of very high quality parts and let untrained monkeys put them together.
Sounds like most factories. I don't know. I've actually, the customer service experience I just had was up and down. People on the phone were idiots, but once I got somebody in person, it was a lot better.
well, I don't know. We've been running about an hour. I'm getting sleepy. Um, Stayed on topic. Both topics actually. We covered bullpups and silencers on. Stayed pretty good on topic, so I think this is a good time to cut it off. And for I guess someone told me Hawaii volcanoes out there in the chat. Man, I sent a link. I don't know if you got it. I apologize. We'll have to get back, maybe organize a little better and try to do the chat again sometime. But I appreciate everybody tuning in and all you guys that joined the panel. And so we will holler at you next time.